Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Are you truly ready to be free? Yes. Are you truly ready to be free? Yes. Yes. Amen. So we're in that consciousness of freedom this morning. And I think about freedom, and I think about our Ruth Street and Loretta Tanji, who are free of the body. They're in free spirit form. They're moving forward on their soul's journey. And sometimes I think, well, maybe when I'm free of the body, I'll really be free. You ever think that? Well, maybe that's real freedom. And what I just feel, and I don't know, but I just feel that Loretta and Ruth would want us to know that you can feel that freedom right here in this body, right here in this lifetime, that true freedom, and it's a choice. It's a choice. That's what I'm going to be talking about today, embodying freedom. As we engage in our time of celebrating the freedom of this country, the freedom that the principle we stand on of freedom, we celebrate July 4th, the July 4th in 1776, when the new nation that called itself the United States of America adopted the Declaration of Independence, which declared our freedom from the rule of the British Empire. And the Declaration says in it, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, to live our lives fully, liberty, freedom, to live in freedom, to pursue happiness. Our country was founded on go and have a good time and enjoy life. That's what they were saying. We want to enjoy life. We don't want to be, we don't want to be slaves, and we don't want to have dictators, and we want to be free. And so we've gone about to create this, and sometimes we look at things going on in our government and in our country, and we go, I'm not feeling really too free right now, or I'm not seeing people living in the freedom that is what I understand that our country is singing about when we say we're the land of the free, in the national anthem. So what would it be like if, rather than looking outside of ourselves to see evidence of freedom, that we showed up as freedom, that we were freedom itself? Well, what do we mean by freedom? What do we mean by being free? So when I first think about freedom, I think about my sweet little daughter, Felicity. She's almost 2.5. And freedom for her means when we go out and walk the dog, she has to come with me to walk the dog. She'll even, if she's in her pajamas, she will go and get her shoes so she can go out with my husband. She has to go walk the dog. This is her thing, right? And she has to hold the leash and pretend. Now I hold the end of it because she's, he's a beagle. I mean, he's not that big of a dog, but anyway. And so we go out for a walk, and then I can just see the moment where she gets this glimpse of freedom, and she starts running and screaming, ah! And she's running like down the street, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna run into the street. And I have to go run after her and get her, but it's just this great joy kind of takes over her, and she's free, and so I think about that, and how crazy it is running after her, that we can think of freedom like, oh, it's just like, oh, I get to do whatever I want and be free, and that is part of our coming into that's like our childhood, adolescent awareness of freedom, that we become free from our parents or what they want us to do, and we choose. I'm going to choose what I want to do, and that's a kind of freedom. And I believe that there's a greater freedom beyond that. That's kind of the first idea of freedom. So there's a freedom from and freedom to, right? And we want both. We want freedom from. You think about the four founders of our country writing the Declaration of Independence, and they wanted freedom from oppression, freedom from tyranny. And we want freedom from harm, we want freedom from fear, and that thing. We want freedom too. We want freedom to express, to create, to become, freedom of speech, freedom of action. We want both, right? Freedom from and freedom to. But sometimes we don't want to be free, because freedom can be challenging to the ego. You think about, well, what's freedom? What really is? What if I really was free? No limitations. It can seem like wild and untamed, no boundaries. You know, what is that? I want to stay with what I know. That feels safe. You know, one of the challenges that my students have sometimes when I teach prosperity classes is the part where you create the vision for your life, and you get to create whatever kind of life you want. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to write. You know, they'll come to me like, I'm stuck on it. Like, create whatever you want. And it's like, but I know I want something better. I want something different, and I'm not sure. And then we go, well, I don't want to be stuck in this, whatever. And so we get kind of caught in that, the ego saying, well, you know, this is what we know, this is what's comfortable, this is the patterns that we've created. And so we can keep ourselves from being truly free and truly living the life that we imagine. And when I think about freedom, I think about animals in captivity. Have you ever seen elephants in a circus and how they keep the elephants? When they're using elephants in the circus, what they do when the elephant's really a small baby elephant, was probably still bigger than me, and they tie a strong rope around the elephant's neck, and they tie it to like a really strong pole. And so the baby elephant, when it tries to get free, and it'll wriggle and writhe and pull and try to get loose of this, and it can't, and so it stops, and they keep putting the rope on the baby elephant, connecting it to the pole, until the elephant just gives up and realizes it's futile. I'm not going to be free. I'm going to just keep pulling, and nothing is going to change. And so what you see when you go to a circus, when you see these giant adult elephants, huge, massively powerful animals, and they'll have a rope around their neck attached to nothing. It doesn't have to be attached to anything, because they've been so conditioned to believe that if they pull, they're not going to be free. Meanwhile, they have this power and free. They can barge over anybody, and they don't. They stay because they've been conditioned in that way. So my question to you today is, what is the rope around your neck keeping you from being free? What is your rope? What is that thing that is limiting you? A thought that, well, I was raised a certain way in the conditions of my family, or I didn't have the right education, or maybe it's some kind of shame you may be carrying about some issue you had in your life, or some situation that happened to you in your life, or a rope of just the relationships that the problems run through your mind and you can't get over it, or stuck in a job that you don't like but you know you need to get the bills paid, and you know you have a responsibility and that kind of thing. What is it? Just think about what condition it is in your life that is that rope that is keeping you from being free. You know, most of us prefer a comfortable jail cell than true freedom, to live in that victim story. So I think about that one of the ways that I find freedom in talking about relationships is when I learn to understand people for what they're really going through, maybe get some insight into who they are, and it helps to free me from some judgment and to move me into forgiveness. And my example of that is a couple weeks ago on Father's Day, we did FaceTime with my dad. And my daughter and I were on FaceTime. We got to see my dad. My dad lives in New York, and he's in his late 80s, and my sister is his caregiver. My dad has moderate dementia. And so we're on FaceTime, and he sees my daughter, and my sister's behind him kind of coaching him, that's your granddaughter and that kind of thing. And so he sees me, and I'm talking to him, and he says to my sister, "Who is that?" And I was like, does my dad not know who I am? He didn't know who I was. Like, he saw me, he didn't know who I was. Really bothered me. It's the first time that I thought my dad might not have known who I was. And so I called my mom later, and I talked to her, and I said, "Hey, Mom, I talked to Dad on FaceTime today, and I don't think he knew who I was." And she said, "Jeanmarie, don't take it personally. It's his condition. It's the dementia. It's not, don't take it. It's not about you. It's the dementia." And so what came out, when things just kind of pop out and you're not really thinking about it, something just pops out. And I said to my mom, I said, the thing is, Mom, is that I just really can't get over the fact that that Dad didn't come to my wedding. He didn't give me a wedding gift. Just popped out, and I said it, and I went, oh, I thought I forgave that. I thought I forgave that years ago. I've been to therapy. I've been to therapy. I thought I forgave that, but there it was again. And what can I do about it? My dad has dementia. I'm not going to he probably doesn't even remember any. I don't know. He might remember. I don't know. And my mom saying, it's talking about his condition. And my dad was diagnosed in 2014 with moderate dementia, and when the neurologist, they did a brain scan of him, and what they discovered was that it was quite possible that he had had dementia for 10 years or more prior to this, which would have, undiagnosed, which would have been in that time period of our wedding. And so what I learned about people who have dementia is because they forget, they don't know who they are, they're not comfortable with going to different places. They're going away, traveling. Our wedding wasn't in New York where he lived, it was in Florida. We had a destination wedding in Florida at my college that I went to. And so my dad's a very proud Italian man. He would not have said, "Hey, I'm afraid I'm going to go to your wedding and forget who I am." Now, I don't know if this is the reason. I don't even know if he was even aware of this. But what I know is that it's possible that this is what the conditions could have been, and that my dad could have made a scenario to cover himself, because that's the kind of thing that he would do, to make it okay, to make sense for him not to come, and then stop talking to me because of it. And I know he had an issue with it being in Florida and that kind of thing. And so when I'm aware of that about him, I can come into a place of empathy and compassion for my dad, for the condition that he was in, what he might have been going through, and why he might have done, might have taken that action. And I can come to a more healed place. And I continue to do my forgiveness work, of course, around it. Jesus said forgiveness, we forgive how many times? 70 times 7. I mean, that's a lot, right? You can forgive. It's like, I think I've forgiven 70 times 6.5. Like, there was still that little bit that eked right out there, And so we keep, as they come up, and the thought is that as you do your spiritual work, you're coming up in a higher place in consciousness with it. But there it is again, and we keep bringing forgiveness. We keep bringing our awareness of truth principles to it. In John 8:31-32, it says, "Then Jesus said to the Jews who believed in him, 'If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free.'" And I always heard that part, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Yes. The part I didn't really pay attention to as much before that's come into my awareness is that he gives some instructions about that. If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. So what is the word, and what is the truth? Well, the truth that Jesus was talking about was not, the truth about, well, when I watch the news, is it facts or alternative facts? It's gnosis. It's that deeper inner knowledge that comes from spirit. And to continue in my word, well, what was Jesus's word? To walk in an awareness of our oneness with God, to practice prayer and meditation, to forgive and forgive and forgive, to love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, to treat others as you would want to be treated, or even go so far as to treat them as they would want to be treated. Think about his saying, continue in my word, in my way, in what I have demonstrated for you. There wasn't a part in the gospel where you see, and then Jesus went and complained about his friends to these other people over there. Like he wasn't like venting. He was constantly walking in that truth. At least that's what we know from what the Gospels tell us, and what I know in my heart, knowing that he's my master teacher, is that's how I see how he always walked in truth, and that's what demonstrates to me and what I choose to follow. That is how you will know the truth. And so, what I know when I practice meditation is that I turn within and I watch my thoughts come and go and come and go, and I practice being the witness observer, where I let go of attachment to the thoughts and recognize that my mind is doing its job, it's creating its thoughts, and that my thoughts are not who I am, they're just thoughts. And so when I'm able to detach from those thoughts, I feel that deep peace, I feel that freedom, I feel that oneness, and that is the foundation of my work and what I do and how I show up in life. And I recognize that when I start my day and I don't meditate, because sometimes I go to meditate and I get, mommy, and I'm pulled away, or something comes up, and that I don't show up as much as free as I would like to be. So I feel that freedom, the freedom that Jesus was talking about, the truth making you free. Because when you're in that spiritual practice, doing your work, doing your meditation, that this gnosis, this knowledge of other people, this deeper understanding, this empathy, it arises naturally of itself. Have you ever had an awareness of other people or their conditions or something going on with them that you go, oh, that makes it more clear why maybe they're showing up that way, that you get this deeper insight into life, into yourself, that comes as a gift of keeping, so that's a paradox. That's like the paradox that to be free, you've got to have discipline, but you've got to have that spiritual discipline to really know freedom in this experience. But what I really want you to know, from my heart, is that in truth you are free. I mean, you are free. That is your birthright. That you are the light of the world. That you are love and expression. And so you can choose at any moment to be free. It's always a choice, no matter the conditions of your world and of your life. You are so much more than the conditions of your life. You're so much greater. You are that giant elephant who forgot its power. Know your power, and you know it through spiritual practice and going to God. So we know in spirit we're free, but can the ego be free? Can the ego be free, really? And the judgments pop in when you're watching the news or whatever's going on. Can it be free? I really believe that freedom depends on choice, and choice depends on awareness. When you're aware of the truth, you make a different choice. When my spiritual director, Robert Brummett, he was here and he teaches insight meditation. He says, when you meditate, it gives you like that extra quarter of a second before you respond, and the more you meditate, the longer that time gets where you're not reacting to everything in the world, you're responding. You're responding from a place of awareness. Viktor Frankl, who was in a Nazi concentration camp, a great writer, and he said, the last of human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. No matter what the conditions of your life are, you always have the freedom to choose. And so our spiritual practice is, as we deepen our awareness, we deepen our knowledge of choice. So when I have a thought or emotion, I always have freedom when I'm aware that I have a choice and that I'm not my emotions. So one of the things that I have to remember my choices around is introducing myself to people. It seems like a simple thing, right? My name is Jeanmarie, and my maiden name is Jeanmarie Esposito. And so when I would introduce myself to people, and they'd be like, "Gee, can I call you something else?" Like, it just seems so long. Or people would read my name and they'd call me Jeanmarie, or they write my name as two names because it's one name with a small m, which is why my email address is one word, small m. So it's something that has been, I thank my mom. I said, "Mom, why did you give me such a complicated name?" And she says, "It's a beautiful name. You should be grateful and love it." And so, you know, but it's like a natural tendency that when somebody calls me Jeanmarie, I'm like, I really hate that, you know, or they call me something, or they want to call me, you know. At my graduation from graduate school, I have a Master's of Fine Arts in acting that I got before I became a minister. They announced my name, they read off all the names, and the guy read my name, and my students are sitting there in the audience. I taught undergraduates, and he goes, "Jeanmarie Esposito." And I was like, both names wrong? Come on. And my students are cracking up. They just are like, oh my God, it was so embarrassing. And so, like, there's another opportunity for forgiveness. And so I have to remember that I have a choice when I introduce myself to be proud of who I am. Be proud of yes, my name is Jeanmarie. Like, it's a great name. And not be like, "It's Jeanmarie. I know you're going to get it wrong. I know you're going to, you know." It's like, you know, I have to remind you, make sure you get it. So just be patient to make a choice, to show up in love around that, and recognize that that it is something that I can choose to see differently, so I can be free around something so simple as my name. Thanks, Mom. So I want to share with you about freedom this passage from Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, and on freedom. The prophet was asked by an order said, "Speak to us of freedom." And so the prophet said, "You shall be free when indeed your days are not without a care, nor your nights not without want or grief." How often we think, well, when that problem goes away, I'll be free. You know? No, that's not when you'll be free, but rather when these things girdle your life, and yet you rise above them naked and unbound. But what is it but fragments of your own self you would discard that you may become free? If it is an unjust law you would abolish, that law was written with your own hand upon your own forehead. You cannot erase it by burning your law books, nor by washing the foreheads of your judges, though you pour the sea upon them. And if it is a despot you would dethrone, see first that his throne erected within you is destroyed. For how can a tyrant rule the free and the proud, but for a tyranny in their own freedom and a shame in their own pride? And if it is a care you would cast off, that care has been chosen by you rather than imposed upon you. And if it is a fear you would dispel, the seed of that fear is in your heart and not in the hand of the feared. So to truly be free, we've got to deal with whatever circumstances are outside of ourselves as they are in our consciousness within. Emmett Fox, a wonderful New Thought teacher, said life is consciousness. Unless you change your state of consciousness, nothing else can change. We want so much to see change in our country, in our world, to experience change, to know that change. And so we begin that by shifting our consciousness, by healing that which is how that is showing us up within us. And then we become agents of change in the world, coming from that greater place of peace and freedom and love. And so the task that I offer you this week is to pay attention when you're not free, when things are coming up, when you're hearing of things that make you feel like you're not free or other people aren't free. Recognize that you have a choice and discover what it is for you to do, whether it's to vote or take some kind of action that is coming from your heart and the consciousness of freedom. Release the prisoners in your mind and to forgive, 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 and love yourself. Helen Keller said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing. Think about that. She was deaf and blind. She said, to keep our faces toward change and behave like free spirits in the presence of fate is strength undefeatable. So let us know our freedom, no matter what it is that is going on. Know our own personal freedom, know that truth for others, and act in love, in freedom, and in light. Thank you all today for being here. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.